Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brilliantly Sexy with Devina Kaur. And today I have the honor of bringing you Joseph Saheb Youssef, who's joining us all the way from Singapore. Thank you so much, Joseph. And today we're going to talk a little bit about branding and marketing, especially related to those of us who are authors and have, are thinking about possibly market their book and everything, as well as LinkedIn growth. So thank you so much, Joseph. Please, let's start the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and share the story about how we connected as well.
Well, see, firstly, Devina, it's such a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm truly honored and humbled. It's always amazing to obviously collaborate with a fellow content creator. And Devina, I guess we've known each other for almost a year and a half since we've been connected on LinkedIn. And it's been a while, right? I mean, time flies. I mean, like this year has literally just gone.
And those of you who don't know Joseph, he is a marketing and branding strategist helping companies expand their global footprint. So I'm so honored that you're here, especially sharing your wisdom about marketing for books as well as for authors. So please go ahead.
No, I mean, see, thank you. I mean, Devina, I'm truly humbled once again, especially with your introduction as well. I mean, it's like, that's just one of the best introductions I've had. Things can just only go downhill from here, in my opinion. So.
Well, when you start looking at the downhill as a party, right? Everything is great.
That's true. As long as you've gained momentum, and then it just keeps going. But no, honestly, it's such a pleasure. We've obviously been connected for about 18 months, almost close to 2 years now. And yes, it was humbling to obviously have you on my vlog or video podcast that I do with Joy, Create the Edge. It was such a pleasure. We had a lot of fun, on the episode. I do remember that was like a crazy episode, of course. But it's always great to interestingly in our situation as well. And I think we can both talk about it because we both have our Indian roots, right? So we're both Asian, so we can talk about it without people pointing a finger and saying that, hey, you're being racist or anything along those lines, right? So, and I mean, we're both brown. And I think the first kind of impact that we have on people is like, they see us, they obviously have some kind of a preconceived notion, and then we open our mouths and they're like, that doesn't quite sound all right. The soundtrack has been dubbed by someone, So
well, that's interesting because I am actually born and raised in India, and then
same here. I was born and raised in India as well.
Yeah. So where did you get your mix of, is it an Australian accent? Is it a Singaporean accent? What accent is this?
Well, see, I mean, the thing is, I mean, with your accent, I think if people don't know that you're in Canada, I think, they might sort of think that, there is a bit of a Brit accent there, and obviously, very well traveled, etc. There's an international element there, of course. I mean, with my one, I guess, I've been, a lot of people have actually taught me to be South African, but, obviously, I've lived for a long time in Australia. So, I mean, when I'm speaking to an Aussie, they're like, yeah, no, fair enough. You sound absolutely Aussie. But I guess, certain elements, certain words, they sort of come out to be a little bit Brit as well. But it depends, I guess, right? I mean, I guess it's just how you are. And people ask me that, is this, did you develop this accent from when, because you moved to Australia? And I was like, maybe my accent's gotten a little bit more Aussie after I've been in Australia, but I've always spoken proper English. Like, not everyone in India actually speaks like Apu from The Simpsons, right? These are just preconceived notions that people have.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I love what you do, Devina. I mean, I can't praise you enough, especially with your sexy, brilliant movement. I think it's very endearing and it's very empowering to a lot of people, not just women, in my opinion. Because I mean, people, will automatically feel that it's something to do with being overweight, etc. But no, the essence of what you do is far beyond that. It's like basically being able to value who you are as a person. And the essence of that is like, if you don't value yourself, no one else is going to value you. So keep up the awesome work.
Thank you so much. And that's, we're 100% nonprofit. Our movement is nonprofit, so we're not, it's a social enterprise, 100%. So very proud of that. And thank you so much for that mention. Those of you who are new can join us on sexybrilliant.org. Lots of free resources, lots of behind the scenes content as well. So coming back to marketing and your brilliance, I want to know a little bit about how you got started at what you do, planning, strategy, implementation, and then where, what was it like to get the first job in this field?
Oh, well, that's a story and a half, right? Okay, so hang on to your horses. I mean, I guess I have had so many pivots in my life from when I was a child. I'm not going to go all the way back, but let's just start from when my childhood dream was to become an Air Force pilot for the Indian Air Force.
Oh, wow.
I was even drafted into the NDA and the Air Force and the pilot training academy when I was in year 9, a class 9 in school. But I had to drop out because I'm an only child of a single mother, and I was raised by my mom and her parents. And my maternal grandma was like, "No, you're not joining the Air Force because I don't want you to die in war." And I'm like, okay, you know how it is, like, so, and the only grandchild, etc. So, I had to give up on my dream when I was very young. So, and then, I'm a through and through science student, physics, chemistry, computers. And then in university, I did completely the opposite. I was supposed to be going to the US. I ended up going to Australia. I was supposed to be doing mechatronical engineering and robotics, but I ended up going into finance and accounting, and I became a CPA. So my sort of college education is completely in the finance and accounting field. However, I've always like loved to interact with people, communicate with people, and just be there, relationship building, etc. So I've worked predominantly most of my career in the financial services industry, but in a lot of other different industries as well. But I've always been in a client-facing role, like in a relationship management role. And then obviously I went into management consulting, where I focus mainly on go-to-market strategies, implementation of different strategic planning and exercises. With regards to market expansion, both in the present market as well as into virgin markets and international markets as well. Just to ensure that companies are exploring all the possibilities to grow their global footprint. So I work very closely with the C-suite, of course, in negotiations and strategy and implementation, etc. I try and do a bit of a top-down as well as a bottom-up approach with regards to my management consulting work. I do consult with a few companies independently as well. I do have a full-time job in the investment advisory space. It's amazing. My first proper job though was when I moved to Australia when I was a 17-year-old. As a dishwasher and a newspaper delivery boy. Wow. I did that for about a week. I couldn't do that anymore after that. But my first proper corporate job was in telecommunications. Okay. So yeah, and then
is there something you cannot do?
Yes, I can't swim. So I can't swim.
Yet.
There you go. I can't do that. So I can't swim and I can't dance. So a lot of people are like, right, with that movie, ABCD, or anybody can dance, right? The ABCD movie. And I'm like, trust me, I can't dance. I mean, people say that, people who can't dance have 2 left feet. I have no feet. Okay. So I'm like horrible. Like, yeah, I mean, literally, you won't shoot me. You'll shoot yourself. To just get the images out of your head. So yeah, I can't swim. I had a near drowning experience when I was I think 7 or 8 years old. I don't have a phobia for water. I can get into the pool or into the ocean or anything, but if the water level goes above my chest, I feel a bit anxious. So I can't swim. I'm happy to be in the water, but yeah, if I can't feel the ground beneath my feet, I'm gonna freak out and I'm gonna just have a stroke. So can't swim, can't dance.
And that's the thing. We're at Sexy Brilliant. Like coming back to our our discussion today. This is so interesting because I am an accidental author. I
Mhm.
like, there was no way that I ever thought about writing a book or something, right? And I happen to be a published author of Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious. And
Mhm.
the one thing that I've realized is there's nothing that you can do the minute you decide to do something, right?
Mhm.
So the same thing
True.
goes for swimming. The same thing goes for writing a book. The same thing goes for creating a social media strategy and content
Mhm.
creation, right? Like the only limitation, and Joseph, you say this all the time too. The only limitation is in the mind. So
Couldn't agree more.
having said that, let's talk a little bit about how would you so for those of us who are on LinkedIn, what are your
Mhm.
top three strategies for creating a huge? You have over 300,000 followers in a community. I would call it
No,
community.
not yet, not yet. Aapke muh pe ghee shakkar. I mean, I'm just over 220K at the moment, but yeah, hopefully soon. Thank you
Well,
very much. I mean,
well, after our show today, we're gonna get you up to 300,000. Okay, so
I've got 50 followers on Twitter. So, but no, I mean, see, the thing is, it's really, really interesting. I mean, I've never quite been into like social media ever. I opened my LinkedIn account on the 5th of August 2018. I'm very good with dates. I guess that comes back from my accounting and financial planning background.
yeah.
So 5th of August 2018. So been just over 2 years on LinkedIn, and I focus most of my time on LinkedIn. And people ask me, like, what's your focus, or why are you doing LinkedIn? Well, honestly, the reason why I originally started LinkedIn was because I was in a bit of a career transition mode, and that interestingly sort of went away into the mix, like gone with the wind, quite literally. And I just kept focusing on engaging and basically just establishing my own personal brand. And that's absolutely essential in my opinion. So, the three tips, as you asked, with regards to LinkedIn, at least, and I would say with regards to any kind of social media, is like number one, you have to always have the intention to provide value. Simple as that. Um, Whatever you do, just make sure that you are giving, because givers receive. I'm a big believer of that. Number two, you have to be consistent in what you do, whether that be curating content, whether that be in engaging with others. That's absolutely essential. So consistency is absolutely key. And number three is just be yourself.
Be
Be
authentic.
yourself. Yeah, I mean, that's I'm gonna quote a saying which a lot of people know, right? Something which goes along the lines of, why be a second-grade version of someone else when you can be the best version of yourself?
Mhm.
But see, the thing is, a lot of people, what they do is like they will try and emulate someone who they are seeing, but they don't understand the different struggles, for example, or whatever they have gone through, and they want to basically just be them. But it doesn't work like that. I mean, yes, it's good to basically emulate someone. It's good to follow someone. It's very good to sort of learn things from other people. However, what a lot of people forget is like they forget to add that secret ingredient, which is your own personality. And that is what resonates, gets people to resonate with you, and that's what resonates to your audience. You've got to be authentic, and you have to have integrity. I know these are buzzwords which a lot of people use, but it
Yeah.
is true. It is true. And that's one of the main reasons as to why I'm such a big believer that you have to make sure that your online personality is equal to your offline persona. It has to be the same. And I think, in my opinion, I'm a bit like you, Devina. I mean, whenever I connect with someone, I try and I always send a message saying, "Hey, welcome to my network. Would be great to jump on a Zoom call." I mean, obviously, if they're not in the same country, and or if they're in Singapore, where I am for the last 7 years now, I always say, "Hey, listen, Singapore's too small a place. I mean, we need to catch up for a coffee." Right? Because it's always important to try and get to know someone, because what are the chances of you honestly recommending someone, referring someone, if you actually don't know what they do, or if you've not had a personal interaction with them? So it's essential. Reach out. Be yourself with people. And the best feedback, the best accolade that I have received from people who've met me after having engaged with me online is like they've said you're exactly the same that you are online, that you're offline. And I think that's the best accolade that one can ever hope to achieve. And so that's where the integrity and that's where the authenticity comes in. I think that's absolutely imperative in today's world and moving forward, because we are all seeing the advent of the digital age, which has been around for a while, but I think it's just completely engrossed us, enveloped us, with whatever's happening in the world at the moment, in this moment of perpetual pause that we are all having, right? So everyone's having to take their footprint more into a digital era, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's essential, and that's where the personal branding element comes in. And that's where I guess what you are doing is very, very important. It's like with you said you became an accidental author, right? It's because you tapped into what you are truly passionate about, and that is essential. Like I'm passionate about actually making a difference. I'm actually making a positive difference to people, to my clients, to make sure that I will never go out and tell someone about a solution if I don't personally believe that it's going to be a win-win situation for them as well. And that is absolutely essential. It doesn't matter if it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in the deal. No, I'm not going to do that. That's where my personal integrity comes in, and that's essential. And that's what people can understand. That's what people can sort of feel when they meet you. When you are your own authentic self, people will understand. And that's where the know, like, and trust factor just absolutely just jumps out of them, which is essential for long-term business relationships.
You know what? We live in a world where we're always told, you're too much, right? Like you're too authentic, and nobody's talking about the inner wealth that we all have, the inner wisdom that we all have. So this is very interesting, where you're talking about being the same person on screen, being the same person off screen, and then connect to who you are, which comes from the trademarked KAUR process, which is know yourself, know who you are, know your gifts, and also know your darkness, right? So when it comes to branding, what would you suggest is that when, let's say, we're talking about an author right now, somebody who's written a book, and which is also the same for a business, because a book, it's a company. You're promoting a company. So what would you say for somebody who wants to promote their company on social media, especially during the times of COVID? Any branding tips that you can share with us, please?
Well, I think branding and content creation is basically going hand in hand at this present moment, because everyone's basically either staring into their palm every single day, or basically looking at a 14, 15, 17-inch screen, like on their in front of them all day, every day, quite literally. So I mean, I think content is getting more and more into the limelight, especially. That's the reason as to why we're seeing so many more people actually coming on screen and getting in front of the camera, on video content. But the main thing, I guess, with anyone starting out, you've got to keep a couple of things in mind. Number one, you need to make sure, and this I'm talking about whether it be from a business perspective or if you're an author. Number one, you need to be a master at your craft. What do I mean by that? You need to be absolutely, completely bought into what you are doing. Like, you need to know what you're doing. You need to be a master at it, right? You can't just basically play halfway house with regards to that, right? Because if you know something, and if you completely have a buy-in yourself, people will see that passion, and that will resonate, and that will extrapolate in your dealings with whatever you do. Number two, which is essential, is like any business or an author needs to know who their target audience is, and they need to define their target audience very, very clearly, right? If they're wanting to target a specific niche market, or they want to go into a broader spectrum, they need to know, like, whether they're wanting to target 15 to 40 to 60-year-olds, or whatever the age range or or denomination, or whoever they're targeting. It's essential that they know who their target audience is. That is absolutely essential. And number three is like just share what you do. Now, what do I mean by share what you do? It's like, and there's a fine line. Like, it's more important, and a lot of people will say that, especially when it comes to business, especially with LinkedIn. I'm going to use LinkedIn as an example here, because people see LinkedIn as like a professional social network, right? And they're like, you should only be talking about business and whatever. No, it is still a social network. So, I mean, everyone, has heard about the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. Like a lot of people say that, with regards to content, whether it be video or written, blog posts or whatever, people say that on LinkedIn, 80% of the time you should be talking about your business. 20% of the time, maybe you talk about, who you are, what you do, what your feelings, likes, dislikes, etc. are. I would say that is not the right approach. Switch it around. Why? Because there are hundreds, if not thousands of people who do exactly what you do, okay? You are not like a Tony Robbins. You are not a Jack Ma. You are not a Richard Branson. You are not a Warren Buffett, that you have already created that kind of niche space in the business world or personal branding space, that there is no other person who actually does what you do, right? There are thousands of people who do what you do. So what is the reason as to why your target audience should choose you? Why should they choose you?
Because you.
Precisely. So you need to focus not on what you do, but you need to focus more on who you are as a person, because that is your strategic differentiator. People like doing business with people who they know, like, and trust. Simple as that. At one given point, trust me, the price doesn't play a factor anymore. And secondly, you don't want to have an audience or a client whose main motivation is cost, because there will always be someone who can do it cheaper than you, right? You should always focus on providing that customer service and that value. And that is what keeps long-term customers. That is what enhances brand loyalty. That is what enhances your own personal recognition. And that is what basically makes you stand out from your competitors. So make that your strategic differentiator. Make yourself the strategic differentiator to your target audience. And that's the only way you can do it, is by basically sharing with people who you are. I'll give you one really interesting story which happened. And, this is something which I've shared on another podcast, which is not yet aired. So so I guess people will be hearing about this here first. So in the year, I think 2008, 2009, when I was in Melbourne, so there was this person. So I had gone to this networking event. I was obviously representing my company at that moment, and we were talking to a senior director in a specific firm, right? And you know how things go with elevator pitches, right? So someone's introduced me, saying that this is so and so from so and so firm, etc. And I've just gone there. The guys standing there with the group, having a drink, and I go there, introduce myself, and just basically go into my elevator pitch. So, and I will never forget that day, because and this is something which I'll be forever grateful to this person for.
Yeah.
This person heard me for about 20 seconds and then said, "All right, young man, let me just ask you something." And I was like, "Yes, please." And he's like, "Tell me something that I can't Google about you or your company."
Wow.
And that just absolutely floored me. And I was like, wow, that is truly thought-provoking. Now, the question I have, and the question I'm going to put to every single person who's listening to this, is like, when you Google your own name, try doing that, right? What comes up? Your professional accolades will take up the first couple of pages of Google if you've got any kind of social footprint. However, people don't talk about, or your personal aspects and elements are not seen. are not heard, aren't discussed. Now, I'm not asking you to go out and tell people, like, what time you go to sleep, what color underwear you wear. No, not these things, but little things like, what you value in life. What are your values? What is your purpose? What are your goals? What do you stand for? What are you passionate about? These are the things which people resonate with, and that is essential. So don't focus on what you do, because people can Google you. People can go onto your social media profile and just see basically your About Us section, and all the different positions that you've held for your present company or your previous company, and they can see a correlation, and they can know who what you do as a person. But focus on who you are and who you stand for, and share about your own personal musings, who you are, stuff along those lines, which not a lot of people would ideally come to know about, because that is where people find a commonality, and that is where people have an emotional connect. Focus on the emotional connect, and you will never go wrong, whoever your target audience is, whichever industry, anywhere in the world. Focus on the emotional connect.
So you said something very interesting. You said emotional connect, which is so you're saying don't be so left brain, don't be so logical, but come back to the heart space. So that's so beautiful, and especially when you're coming from the marketing angle, the strategy, the planning, the business angle, and it's really heartwarming to hear this. Like we're getting the messages of that connection. So I want to just switch a little bit to say what, when you are looking for a client, or when you are soliciting a client, whatever we want to call it, when you're pitching yourself, what has changed since that episode in Australia to now? What's your way of pitching yourself now?
Okay, I mean, see, the easiest way is like, let's just look at the elevator pitch section, right? I'm going to use the elevator pitch thing because a lot of people, especially in business schools, right, they talk to you about, you should know, your elevator pitch and be able to deliver it with like absolute gusto and without, making any issues within a minute or 30 seconds or whatever. It doesn't work. Elevator pitches don't work. Why? Because people don't like being sold to. They don't want to know how great you are or how amazing your product is. They want to know whether you can actually solve a problem for them. Simple as that, right? People want to make sure that you understand their real needs and requirements. You need to be a doctor, right? What does a doctor do? When you go and see a doctor, the doctor will not just look at your face and say, I think you've got this issue. I'm just going to write you a prescription. Doesn't do that, right? They will check your vital signs. They will do, send you for some tests, etc. They will gather all the information before they're prescribing you, any medication. You've got to do the same. You've got to find out. You've got to create that safe space for people around you so that they open up and tell you what their real needs and requirements are. So, to come back to your question, Devina, what I would suggest is like whenever you're meeting someone, right? Whether it's in an elevator pitch situation or whatever, right? You always know from before who you are going to be meeting. Simple as that. You'll always know. Whether it be 5 minutes before, whether it be a day before, whether it be a week before, whether it be a month before, you will always know who you are going to be meeting, who your client is. Do your research. Find out what they do. Stalk them if required, right? Try and find an emotional connect. For example, so this is something which I used. No, I'm not asking you to stalk people, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Like try and see. In a professional manner, exactly. So look at their LinkedIn profile. If you can find them on Facebook, see what they do. Maybe see some public pictures that they may have shared on a vacation, etc. Try and see where they've gone. Try and find out little commonalities between them. So I'll give you another example which I used when I was back in Australia as well. So this was with another C-suite executive who I was presenting to, and I'd found out that this lady was very, very big into humanitarian works and did a lot of social good for charities, etc. And one of her children was actually had a bit of an issue with their vision. So he used to use a seeing eye dog or a guide dog, right? Now, interestingly, and that was just a huge coincidence, I used to actually sort of volunteer at the Guide Dogs Victoria as well over the weekend. So I used to actually go there and put in my own time and stuff. So when I actually spoke to this person was supposed to be, you know, one of the most menacing C-suite executives in Australia at that time. And, you know, people would be like, you know, if she gives you like 10 seconds, you're lucky, right? So, I mean, go up there and, you know, I just say, hey, I'm really, really sort of, you're doing amazing stuff. Thank you so much for giving me the time. But I just would like to commend you on the amazing humanitarian works that you do. And just wanted to let you know that I know your son's got a vision impairment. And yeah, I think I may have actually seen you at the premises of the Guide Dogs. I just said that. And she was like, how did you see me at the premises of the Guide Dogs? And I was like, well, I actually volunteer there on the weekend.
Wow.
And that turned into like a 15-minute conversation because, you know, there was that emotional connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't have to lie. Trust me, I'm not asking you to lie or you make up stories or anything along those lines. But if you do your proper research, that person, let's say, for example, you know, loves singing karaoke, or, you know, loves to play cricket or football or ice hockey, as you guys do in Canada, right? So, or basketball. You know, find that emotional connect and focus on that, because people like dealing with people like themselves, right?
Oh,
Each and every person, they love the sound of their own voices. That's number one. Get them to start speaking about themselves as soon as possible. And trust me, all you need to do is basically just be an active listener and be able to sort of, you know, just keep all the things that they're saying and basically keep that at the back of your mind to be able to use those little elements that they may use to create further rapport moving forward. Just people like listening to their own voice. Simple as that. Get them to talk, as I said.
Yes.
And people love themselves, right? In some way. I don't mean it in a vain manner, but people, they do like themselves or love themselves in some way, right? So, and that's where, you know, people like to do business with people who are like them, who they find an emotional connect with, who they see some semblance of who they are as well, because they find that safe space automatically. It's their inner you know, their brain basically telling them that, no, that's a safe space, quite literally. That's where that emotional connect comes in.
And that comes back to your initial point about your top 3 social media strategies, where you said connect to people. It's about giving back. It's not just about taking, it's about giving. And the giving starts from, you know, it's in all aspects of our life, whether it's on social media, whether it's in a networking event, or, you know, we run a nonprofit foundation. And for us, it's about giving. And as St. Francis of Assisi says, it is in giving that we receive.
Precisely.
So the more we give, the more we receive as well. As this is the universal law of karma as well. Like, you know.
Oh, don't get me started on karma. I mean, Devina, I mean, if we both get started on karma, I think, you know, this is going to be like a 3-hour-long episode. But
it really will be. It really will be.
Yeah.
But we're coming to the end of the show, and you know, is there something that I've missed, Joseph? Please. I'm severely ADD, so I do miss a lot of things, and I was curious about this one thing that I read on your LinkedIn profile. It said the word disrupt, and I did write
the word disrupt. Did you say disrupt?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does the meaning of disrupt mean in terms of sales and marketing?
What does disrupt means in terms of sales and marketing is like basically, you know, don't pitch the product, promote the solution, be a client partner, and that's the main thing. Like, you know, forget the legacy ways of doing business. It's not a one size fits all. You know, try and find out the real needs and requirements of the client. Don't try and sell, try and provide value. And that's something which is basically disrupting the norm, as we say in sales and marketing. The other thing, you know, disruption, and this is something which, you know, I've gotten a lot of flack from a lot of people because, you know, I try to speak my mind, same like you, Devina. Like I personally feel that sales and marketing should be one and should be part of the same department. It's not two separate departments. They need to work hand in hand. and they need to work, in tandem. They are basically two cogs in a bigger wheel, which need to move together. They need to be pulling or pushing the same direction, and this is what in my opinion the sales and marketing teams, the departments, should be under one umbrella, not be two separate departments. So two elements of disruption. There are lots of other elements of disruption, Devina, but these are the two main ones, the two basic ones in my opinion, which companies should focus on.
Yeah. So as every individual is a company as well, right? Like it's Devina Inc. and it's Joseph Inc. and it's I know there's lots of people listening in, so it's like that Inc. is attached to our name as well. So guys, use that where you're providing value, and don't hesitate to take risks.
Yeah.
Like be innovative.
Absolutely.
Like I run Sexy Brilliant, guys. Can you imagine? It's a tough, it's a huge thing when you're running something called Sexy Brilliant, because that's how you get judged all the time. But you know what? I'm being authentic.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You just have to showcase what you're passionate about. You don't want every single person to love you. You can't. I mean, however good you are, there will be people who will not like you. So just focus on being yourself, and the right people will resonate with you, and the right people will basically be your fans for life. So just be yourself.
Love that. Thank you so much. So thank you. We're at the end of our show, and every at every show we pull Sexy Brilliant empowerment cards.
Ooh,
so,
awesome.
So we're going to ask you to choose a number between 1 and 50.
I'm warming up my palms.
So
because I'm gonna virtually pick out the card.
Yeah, you're gonna virtually choose a number. You're gonna choose a number, and then we're gonna pick out the cards.
Cool. Any number, or between a range?
Oh, between 1 and 54.
1 and 54.
Yeah, because we've got 54 cards. So choose between 1 and 54.
I have to choose the number 42.
42.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind 42?
Well, it's a meaning of life and everything else around it, right? So.
I'm gonna have to count 42 cards out now.
Well, there you go. I've given you a bit of work.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna go. Let's start counting. I'm gonna count backwards so that we find our cards pretty soon and see what the messages are for our show today with Joseph Youssef. Thank you so much. All right, here's our card. Ooh, oh my goodness. Did I tell you that the cards are X-rated?
Okay, where's my mask? I need to block myself out, or you just spray paint the thing. Hold on. Okay, never mind.
So our card today is Hot Acceptance.
Okay, Hot Acceptance. Okay, awesome.
Hot Acceptance, and it says, accept the sexy ups and downs, accept your brilliant self just the way you are. Our body, our divinity is a gift, and our imperfections make us brilliantly sexy. Repeat daily, I'm sexy, brilliant.
I love that. I love that, because I'll tell you something, Devina, especially that part where you said, we should celebrate our imperfections. I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong in some way, but there's this art in Japan. It's kintsugi pottery, where basically, like, when things break, they gild it together with gold leaf or silver leaf, etc., and it's different, and it just adds value to an already broken piece, and that is celebrated, and wear your scars with pride, because they are what has basically allowed you to learn from and be who you are and what you do today. So I love that. Celebrate your imperfections, because in today's world, especially with more of social media and digital content everywhere, people are just trying to put forward their brushed up and their buffed up self, right? Just be you.
Exactly.
Just be you.
That's our theme for our conversation today. Be you, be authentic, know who you are, and then everything else follows, because that also helps us gain spiritual confidence, not just outer confidence, but real inner confidence as well. So thank you so much. This was very enlightening. And everybody who's here, please make sure that you are following Joseph. He's great. He's big on LinkedIn. He's also on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, please connect to me, Devina Kaur, on all social media. It will be my honor and my pleasure to serve you in any way. And finally, we are looking for guests for our show. So if you want to be part of our Sexy Brilliant movement, please connect to me. We are also looking for volunteers, so we welcome everybody. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you once again for the opportunity, Devina. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Guys, find us on sexybrilliant.org. Namaste.